yourself between two well-dressed women, but you are equally likely to find your neighbour a beggar with a blanket; besides, the floor is nearly as dirty as that of the cathedral. This dirtiness is certainly one of the greatest drawbacks to human felicity in this beautiful country, degrading the noble edifices dedicated to the worship of God, destroying the beautiful works destined for the benefit of his creatures. The streets, the churches, the theatres, the market place, the people, all are contaminated by this evil. The market place is indeed full of flowers and green branches and garlands, but those who sell the flowers and weave the wreaths are so dirty, that the effect of what would otherwise be the prettiest possible picture is completely destroyed. In the theatre there is a series of suffocating odours, especially in the dimly lighted corridors, which is anything but agreeable. The custom of kneeling on the floor in church seems fitting and devout, but there surely can be no reason why the floor of a sacred building should not be kept scrupulously clean, or why the lower classes should not be obliged to dress themselves with common decency. Those who are unable to do so, though probably there are not half a dozen people in Mexico who do not wear rags merely from indolence, should certainly have a place set apart for them, in which case this air of squalid poverty would no doubt disappear. On occasion of any peculiar fête, the church is washed and beggars are excluded, and then indeed these noble edifices seem fitting temples wherein to worship the Most High. On other days, in addition to the léperos, especially in the cathedral, the Indian women are in the habit of bringing their babies and baskets of vegetables to church, and the babies on their part are in the habit of screaming, as babies will when they consider themselves neglected. This may be difficult to amend, the poor woman having come in from her village, and perforce brought her progeny with her, but the strong stout man in rags, who prefers begging to working, the half naked woman who would consider herself degraded by doing anything to better her condition, except asking for alms, the dogs which wander up and down during divine service, all these might be brought to order by proper regulations. Notwithstanding all these drawbacks, I have sometimes compared in my own mind the appearance of a fashionable London chapel with that of a Mexican church on the occasion of a solemn fête, and the comparison is certainly in favour of the latter. The one light, airy, and gay, with its velvet-lined pews, its fashionable preacher; the ladies a little sleepy after the last night's opera, but dressed in the most elegant morning toilette, and casting furtive glances at Lady 's bonnet and feathers, and at Mrs. 's cashmere shawl or lovely ermine pelisse, and exchanging a few fashionable nothings at the door, as the footmen let down the steps of their gay equipages; the other solemn, stately, and gloomy, and showing no distinction of rank. The floor covered with kneeling figures, some enveloped in the reboso, others in the mantilla, and all alike devout, at least in outward seeming. No showy dress, or gay bonnet, or fashionable mantle to cause the eye of the poor to wander with envy or admiration. Apparently considering themselves alike in the sight of heaven, the peasant and the marquesa kneel side by side, with little distinction of dress, and all appear occupied with their own devotions, without observing either their neighbour's dress or degree of devoutness. Religious feeling may be equally strong in the frequenters of both places of worship, but as long as we possess senses which can be affected by external objects, the probabilities of the most undivided devotional feeling are in favour of the latter. The eye will wander, the thoughts will follow where it leads; in the one case it rests on elegant forms and fashionable toilettes, in the other it sees nothing but a mass of dark and kneeling figures, or a representation of holy and scriptural subjects. However, one consequence of the exceeding dirtiness of the Mexican churches, and the number of léperos who haunt them, as much in the way of their calling as from devotion, is that a great part of the principal families here, having oratorios in their houses, have engaged the services of a padre, and have mass at home. There is a small chapel in the house of General B a, the handsomest house in Mexico, where there is a Virgin carved in wood, one of the most exquisite pieces of sculpture that can be seen. The face is more than angelic, it is divine, but a divine nature suffering mortal anguish. 27th. On the 1st of February we hope to set off on an expedition to Tierra Caliente, from which C n returned some time ago. We have, by good fortune, procured an excellent Mexican housekeeper, under whose auspices everything has assumed a very different aspect, and to whose care we can entrust the house when we go. Nothing remarkable has occurred here lately; the usual routine of riding on horseback, visiting in carriage, walking very rarely in the Alameda, driving in the Paseo, dining at Tacubaya, 3 weekly soirées, varied by a diplomatic dinner in the house of the Minister, and by the dinner of the English Club, who met here yesterday, by a sale of books after dinner, in which the president of the society fined me $5 for keeping a stupid old poem past the time, upon which I moved that the poem should be presented to me, which was carried nem. con. We have been strongly advised not to attempt this journey, and the stories of robbers and robberies related by credible persons are not encouraging. Robbers, bad roads, horrible heat, poisonous animals, many are the difficulties prognosticated to us. The season is already rather advanced, but it has been impossible for us to set off sooner. Our next letters will be written either during our journey, should we find the opportunity, or after our return. End of letter the 30th.